I was drawn to the script because I really was drawn to the script because you just don't see films like this very much anymore. There are war films popping out all over the place, but it had an actual, it had a sense of humour, and weirdly it had, I don't want to get too deep about this because it's a war movie, but it had some layers. It wasn't all just bam, 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 bam. There was a backstory enough to go, okay, you can earn some interest in this person and in what's going on. All the characters had layers and there was a bit of subtext, and which meant the funny bits were funnier and the emotional bits were more emotional. So I just thought it was brilliant, and I knew it would be good fun to shoot. And that's, the older I get, the more important, it gets more and more important, having a good time. Because if you have a good time on set, the audience have a good time watching it. It's just a weird thing. It just makes its way across into someone's front room, I think. So preparation for the action sequences. There was a great stunt team, stunt arrangers, and a good fair few weeks or months before shooting met in this very room and sort of started to block through things. And even if what you do in a rehearsal day with a film doesn't end up being what you do, it's so important to meet the people you're going to pretend to punch and to meet the stunt team, because if you've learnt something from them and on the day we go, we've got to do something totally new, it doesn't matter. You've learnt how they work. So we had a day of doing that, which meant it was fine, everything we did. And everyone was good at that stuff. I've done a lot of that stuff. Paul Marlin's done a lot of that stuff. And we could sort of help out with suggestions when you hit a problem, like, we can't do what we planned, we had to do that. So, and preparation personally, just vaguely healthy, not hungover, and I'm getting old now, so it's just staying in shape enough that you can do 5 takes if you have to, and I've done a lot of this stuff. So, but I always claim stupidity when I start a new action film, because armourers with the guns and stunt teams don't like you to act like you know everything. Quite right too. So I always say, yes, I've done this stuff before and I know how to use guns, but will you treat me like I've never held a gun before? It's way safer. Yeah. So the most challenging days on the shoot for me, I've really enjoyed this shoot. So it's tricky because by challenging, I don't mean difficult or unpleasant, really. There was a day with real explosions where, you kind of only got 1 or 2 takes of these things, and it was a brilliant munitions guy doing it, but you can't be very exact about where it's going to go in your face and everything. And it was a lot bigger than I expected it to be. I remember that. I was like, and then, the last day of the shoot was the big final fight with the big scary Nazi that Timothy Blore played, and that was bonkers. It was almost like some I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of There challenge, because it was just non-stop, and we just kept going and going and going. And I'm sure there was a dot of real blood at some point somewhere, and a lot of sand in your face, and a lot of dust, and just a proper day's graft. But actually, that's what I love. So challenging. But it makes the pint at the end of the day all the better. Oh, so many brilliant takeaways from this. My relationship with the director, who everyone else said was horrible, but I got on really well with Nick Winter. Paul Marlin, it was great. Everyone, a great team. Weirdly, things I will remember are, it was the hottest summer since 1976 in England, that all the grass had turned yellow, which meant the film looks like we're in the south of France. It's amazing. And I had a new 25-year-old fifth-hand camper van that I drove everywhere. And so for me, and I deliberately drove it over here today, it was, for me, I will always remember just driving myself around to and from everything in that camper van with a terrible old Bob Marley cassette playing, and just being very happy and grateful to be working after we've had all the lockdown experience of not doing what we want to do. It was one of those God, I've got 4 weeks doing what I like doing here. So it was a really, I was just ever so grateful for it. And if only you can generate that. As soon as, lockdown is fading and we're starting to get less grateful as human beings. It's funny, people were so chuffed to be doing things to begin with. And I can feel it on sets now on other jobs where people are starting to look at their watch again, like when's lunch? And that's a shame, because really it's no different. But it seems to me the higher up the tree you go, the more monkeys poo on your head. And I honestly am happy with real films like this that aren't enormous studio films, because there's just less people to ruin the day. So there's basically one person making the decisions, sort of only 2 or 3 people in departments just crack on with it. And it is my happiest place, actually, weirdly. And it's why I'm doing my own. I'm literally taking a leaf out of your book and shooting my own feature in a few months, and really trying to make it feel like that on set. A lot of preparation, so that it can feel like an improvisation on the day, even though it isn't, I'm going out for my 3rd recce for that in a couple of weeks. So, yeah. So, I don't know what to say, except I love it. Bring on Warblade 2 and 3. Okay, genuinely, not just because you're here, working with Nick Winter was fantastic and really surprising, because he's so busy. You shot the thing, lit the thing, wrote the thing, directed the thing, organised after the thing. There were producers, of course, but what really surprised me was you still had time to give fantastic acting notes. Sometimes in a mad day, if you go, and there was always a bit of carrot and then a stick. It was always like, that was great, we've got that. Can we have one like this? And it would always be, I like it when it's a surprising instruction that I wouldn't have thought of. Because young actors sometimes go, it doesn't feel right, I don't think that's right. And that's always a good sign for me. That just means I wouldn't have thought of that. And the thing is, the older I get, the more I like to do lots of different versions of a scene and let the editor make the performance, stitch it together. So as long as we've got the one I thought of in my hotel room, so when we've got that, I'll do any version you want and let the edit. So I loved it and look forward to more of that relationship in the future, really. What can the audience expect from Warblade? Well, for once, this isn't lying. Some posters for films are like, hang on, there was explosions on that. There's nothing. It's just set in a cave and they just talk to each other. All of this stuff's in the film. Tanks, planes, explosions, guns, and sweat. Honestly, I think it's the kind of film we used to make in Britain all the time, and we don't anymore. Like in the 50s and 60s, there were these fantastic, what you might think of as a great afternoon movie. Like, just a great afternoon movie where it's a good story and you get on, and before you know it, it's taken you to a great conclusion, and you're out the other end. It's a ride. But it's got a sense of humour, which not all these things do. It's got wit, is the word actually, which a lot of these old daring do adventures don't have. So it has the feel of those commando sort of magazines for boys, but it has a real intelligence and aesthetic for women. The women in it are not token, they're 3-dimensional characters. And like I said, I dare you to not enjoy it, because we enjoyed it, and I think that translates.